You're watching Behind the Headlines. I'm Pacchia. Now, we don't often have good news for law firms on this show, but my guest today suggests that things might not be as bad as they seem. Joining me now via Skype from Hong Kong, where it's 2 in the fricking morning, we have John Grimley, professional services consultant and writer at internationalbusinessdevelopment.com. Welcome, John. Thanks for joining us at this ridiculous hour for you. Really sorry to put you out, but as you say, you're bullish on law firms, and that makes you more valuable than a white elephant to us. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Lee. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm delighted. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I am excited. I am in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is a very important place for law firms. It is a transshipment point for 2/3 of foreign direct investment emanating from and going into China. I am bullish about the law because I believe that law firms in the future are going to adopt sophisticated business development systems in which they can identify, pursue, and capture new business. And I think that the opportunities that law firms have, both domestically in the United States and internationally, are substantial.
So we're talking about growth here. We had Bruce McEwen on the show about 2 weeks ago. He entitled his new book, Growth is Dead. You think growth is not necessarily dead. Where's the growth going to come from? Starting with international growth prospects, where are you going here?
Well, I have tremendous respect for Bruce McEwen, and I do agree with his assessment that if firms don't change, that they are going to have challenges to growth. But I do believe they are going to change, and the growth areas that exist are in international markets. For example, Chinese foreign direct investment is now at record levels, mostly focused on the United States. Japanese foreign direct investment is substantial, focused on energy and M&A, looking at the United States. American practitioners are in a very unique position in that they sit atop the world's largest economy. And most global economies that are growing at double digits want to be in the United States. So if American law firms adopt sophisticated business development systems by which to identify and secure new clients coming from these markets, they're going to do very, very well.
So should firms be falling over each other to open up offices in, say, developing economies? Are we going to see Skadden open up an office, say, in Johannesburg?
That's a great question. No, that's not necessarily. A business development approach doesn't to an international market doesn't necessarily require one to be in one of those markets. Sure, a White and Case can go and establish an overseas office in Indonesia. It's not necessary. If you're a domestic incumbent law firm in the United States, you can make yourself a gateway to the American market by doing such things as, one, blogging about that market. Take a look at China Law Blog up in Seattle. They've become the preeminent law portal for China foreign direct investment emanating out of China and going from America into China. Firms should emulate that. And I think also firms ought to establish internal structures whereby they have a sophisticated team internally to analyze markets, analyze opportunities, match their service offer up against those opportunities, and seek to create sophisticated content and reach out to those prospective client bases that they may not know of, and that those client bases may not know of them. But those opportunities are myriad. They exist across the world. I know from experience, having done this for many years, and they also exist in the United States as well.
Just before we move on to the United States, what's your top 3 international legal markets in terms of growth prospects?
Japan, because of their thirst for energy. I think China, because of their growing interest in the United States. And I think the ASEAN region in general is very attractive because you're seeing substantial growth. And I think there's going to be a growing middle market group of companies that's going to be interested in the United States over the coming generation.
Yeah, it's a good time to be running a law firm with a substantially developed energy practice. John, you also think that there's opportunity within the American economy, but I thought the general slowdown in the United States and Europe was largely a contributing factor to the economic headwinds facing so many large law firms. How can firms find growth here in the United States?
That's a great question. I don't deny that the slow growth in the United States and the European Union is to some degree responsible for a diminution in income for law firms. However, one of the things that law firms are not doing is they do not have sophisticated divisions devoted to generating new revenue, which is what they need to do. Case in point, the United States middle market, companies generating revenue of between $1 million to $500 million. We're at a country would be the fourth largest GDP in the world. It is a very underserved market by professional services providers. American law firms would be very smart to, like a laser, focus on this market and apply sophisticated business development practices in order to generate not only revenue for their own practice from these C-suite executives in the middle market, but also become a silo of new business, which they can refer to investment banks and other referral partners, and make them a very attractive professional service firm within the United States domestic economy.
Yeah, but is it incorrect to say that in the middle market space, a lot of the legal work we're talking about here is high volume, low profit margin type work? Isn't that going to ultimately hurt profit margins for large law firms?
I would disagree with that, Lee, because I think that the middle market actually is very desirous of highly sophisticated services. Debt, equity, mezzanine financing, bankruptcy, human resources, amelioration of litigation risk. Previously you've discussed on the show the American market, legal market, 75% of it is litigation. It's that, and the American legal market represents 75% of the spend in the world. I think a business development first focus for a medium-sized American law firm, or even an Am Law 100 law firm, ought to be litigation risk management focused on the middle market in order to not only help them avoid litigation, but when they need to litigate, to be their litigator of choice. If firms reach out and try to generate new business based on that offer, they will be very successful in the United States.
And John, we've also talked about the concept of diversification in your view on things. Can you explain how accounting firms diversified and how law firms can emulate them going forward?
Well, I can speak more to what law firms have done, Lee. And if you take a look at what firms in the District of Columbia do, they have hybrid law public policy practices. Those are very attractive, and I'll tell you why. Because, for example, many law firms in the District of Columbia have U.S. government contracts practices. United States government contracts, that regime, were it a country, would be the 7th largest economy in the world. Any law firm that sets up a practice around government contracting it has the ability not only to reach into the U.S. middle market domestically, but internationally for companies who may wish to bid on public sector contracts. And that's one example of a whole myriad of examples. The accounting profession has gotten into consulting. There's no reason why law firms shouldn't do consulting on at the same kind of rate and basis and service offer that accounting firms are doing. Why should law firms cede that ground? There's no reason why. You have sophisticated practitioners within the legal services sector that have much to offer in the realm of consulting, and if they can properly package that offer, there's every reason why they cannot market it and go out and generate a significant revenue stream both domestically and internationally.
It's a fascinating concept, and this all seems simple enough, but why haven't we seen law firms doing this already?
That's a great question, and I think the legal services sector is a traditional sector. I think in partnership models, you have a reticence, a conservatism that I think is going to have to change over time and adopt these business principles which have been adopted by accounting firms. And I think that I've been patient over the years, and I'm going to continue to be patient and optimistic. I can't help but be so. But I do think that the partnership model is a bit of a challenge in order, to find, consensus among partners. But I'm still bullish. I think that the market's been so challenging that I think that firms are beginning. We're beginning to see a dawn. We're seeing firms, I think, grasping that they need to do much, much more than they've ever done before. And I think they're going to do it. I really do. I really do.
John, in order to get there, though, do law firms need to get smaller and faster? What is this all going to mean for headcount in professional services going forward? Are we going to need less lawyers out there, or can law firms keep their current headcount and go forward?
That's a great question. I don't quarrel with firms having to create internal efficiencies, some of which may involve layoffs. It is very unfortunate. It's tragic to see it, in my opinion. It's particularly tragic to see the situation that new law graduates find themselves in. It saddens me. However, we're going through a very challenging time, and some of these internal efficiencies, including layoffs, I'm afraid, are necessary, and I don't quarrel with them. But I think in order for firms to build and become a more stable employment base and a stable and creditworthy business entity, they need to get serious about revenue generation, not just internal efficiencies. They need to add to the top line revenue. They need to get very serious about applying highly sophisticated business generation practices in their firm, as much as they are about cutting. They need to add.
No, these are tough times for sure. John, you spent a couple years at Patton Boggs in a management role.
I did.
A couple weeks back, they announced a pretty substantial round of layoffs at the firm. Any insight into what's happening there? Is the firm in real trouble, or is this just a resizing, in your opinion?
No, I don't believe the firm's in trouble at all. I think Patton Boggs is a very forward-thinking law firm, and I do believe what Ed Newberry indicated, it was a resizing. I think the firm has a tremendous service offer. They have a remarkable international practice with a significant presence in the Middle East, and they represent many foreign sovereign governments, some of whom I help them identify and secure as clients. And I think I'm very, very bullish on Patton Boggs' future prospects.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, John, thanks so much for sitting down and talking to us today at 2 in the morning in Hong Kong. Really interesting discussion. Thanks so much.
Delighted. Thank you so much.
If you'd like to learn more about the cases and issues we just discussed, be sure to go check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our videos on YouTube, and you can follow our updates on Twitter. I'm Pacchia. Thanks for watching.